Just like an esports player, you as an esports coach want to have as much impact as possible. But how can you influence your players and team in such a way that you can have that impact? In this video, we will cover 5 different coach roles that help you and your team reach the next level. Let's get into it. My name is Donnie from nextlevelesports.com, the #1 platform for esports coaches and team development. This will be the very first video where I will help and support you guys and your team to reach the next level by getting the people side of esports right. Today, I will talk about the coaching level model, about the 5 coaching roles. Let's get it. This is the coaching level model. It is divided into separate things. As you can see, it is from the bottom up, the reality part, and the reality part means the things that can be seen, be observable over time, or can be touched sometimes. So we have these respectable roles of the guide, the coach, and the trainer. On the upper side, we have the virtual part, and virtual means the things that cannot be seen or observed over time, but more so are within someone, that derives their action, that motivates their action, their intentions, all these kinds of things. And there we have the coach roles of the mentor and the inspirator. We're going to talk about all the 5 roles, but let's start with the first one, the guide. When you are in your role as a guide, as a coach, you have several focus points. So the first one is your surroundings. So it can be like your training area. Where are you practicing? Where do you do your exercises? All these kinds of things. What kind of routines do you set up with your team? Do you want to be at a certain time ready, maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon? Depends like on the level you play with. So it can also be structure that you have. So not only the schedule from like, okay, let's start with 10 a.m. in the morning until 6 p.m., but also what kind of structure do you have in between? Do you have like scrims or your pracs maybe at 2 until 5 and maybe a review after? Is it like all set in the same order, maybe from day in, day out? How do you optimize these kinds of things? If you're busy on such things, then you're in your coach role trying to leverage and your impact with your surroundings. So that's a good thing as well. So the second focus point is the tools. So this can be anything going from aim lab, coaching tools, maybe next level esports platform to get knowledge from sites and platforms like Skillcapped or just general YouTube videos. It can be anything, basically tools at your disposal that get you and your team ahead of the curve and to get the best surroundings and tools for your team to perform, basically. So the third focus point is resources. So this can be money as well, like resources to help your team out, covering some costs, travel costs maybe, to support them so they don't have to worry about money or about receipts, about like food or whatever. But it's also more broader than that. So it can also be skins. It could be as a present, but most of the time resources are also people. And this is a very impactful thing. So we as coaches, if you are an esports coach, you probably feel like a one-man army. You have to do all these kinds of things, like you have to be the manager, you have to be like their daddy, or you have to be like the cleanup guy maybe from time to time. I don't know maybe how you feel, but I kind of felt some ways when I did that, when I felt like a daddy, that I feel like, oh, I have to do so many things, overwhelming. But resources are also being you resourceful, so you don't have to actually do everything on your own. So that means, do you have connections? Do you have maybe specialists in your area, or maybe a performance coach, or let's say a chef? If you're a very professional team, that you might think like, oh, we just only order all the food on Uber Eats, but the performance going backwards because it's not really healthy, or these kinds of things. So use your resources in types of money with your organization, of course, things that you can leverage so you can have the best resources available for your team as well that you can set up. The fourth focus point will be methods as well. And it can be anything from like models that you use for coaching. It can be flow charts that you would like to use, or just things that you developed yourself and can be applied to your team for, let's say, okay, let's use this coaching model here. This is something for you. Try it, use it, and see how far you can get to set up the team for success, or maybe an individual player. So these are the 4 focus points with some few examples in your role as a guide if you're taking on this role. So for you, if you're maybe a newer coach and you feel like, or maybe an experienced coach, or you feel like you are in this role for most of the time, doesn't have to be, but most of the time that indicates that you are probably a newer coach that is just starting off with coaching, because it's hard to maybe catch up things to see where the talents lies and what you can actually do. So it is actually a good way to start with coaching by doing other things around the team, more so in an upgraded manager way. So you can help the team by not having them worry about scheduling or all the other things. So it can be a really good way to start off if you're looking into the coaching spectrum. These can be things as a sort of a semi-manager, but also later on you can transition to a better coach. But sometimes also, if coaches get further, they often have like managers to take care of these things. But sometimes even if you're a very experienced coach, you have to be acknowledged of this role, because sometimes you just have to step back and think about like, okay, are there any methods, are there any tools or any resources I can leverage or I can use, so I can give those things to the player to help them the best way possible to get them through the next level, or maybe overcome something that they are dealing with in the moment. So there you go, the guide. The second coach role is the role of the coach. Within this role, you have 2 focus points. The first one is behavior, the way the players are communicating with each other and the way they are acting. And this can be verbal, non-verbal, but also the way they move inside the game. You give direct feedback within this coach role towards the player so they can act upon it and improve it. So you try to give 1 or 2 sentences like, hey guys, you are way too nice to each other, be more critical, hold each other accountable. And that is that, 1 or 2 sentences, and they can adapt and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I changed my behavior directly. Second focus point is skill. So you as a coach, you assess their skill in the way they are tactically or strategically handling the situations, and you assess them on it. So maybe just like a football coach, you want them to play more defensively, more aggressively, and you want them to act on it. So you cannot give like whole lectures around this topic, but more so within the coach role, just like a football coach, just like 1 or 2 sentences again with direct feedback, so they can adapt their style, their tactical thinking or strategical thinking, or the way they behave and present their skills inside the game. So this whole coach role is about giving direct feedback. And if you find yourself in this role a lot of the times by giving direct feedback, you give a lot of improvement points, which is very good as well as a basic. But you also probably notice that people are not like prodigies in itself, and sometimes players need more time than just only giving you 1 or 2 sentences on a topic to something to improve. They maybe need 1, 2, maybe more practices, like 5 practices to practice a communication protocol, all these kinds of things. So that will be more so for the training. So if you find yourself in situations where you said something like 2 or 3 times, it is probably because the player or the team needs more time to get that thing under control and to apply it into the match or maybe a practice. So my thing is just grab a book and then write it down, the points that you might think, oh, I use it for, or I said it for 2 or 3 times, but it's not really having the effect. Maybe I need to structurize it, giving more time in a training setting, but we'll talk about soon. So write things down to give more time for the training, because they just need more time probably if you cannot reach your next level like with only direct feedback. So there you go, the second role, the coach. The third coach role is the role of the trainer. As a trainer, you have two focus points, the first one being skills and the second one talent. Let's talk about skills first. So compared to the coach role that we just handled, it's a different perspective. The coach role handles it in the moment directly and coaching on the skills that they have in that moment. And within the trainer role, you assess the skills, what skills are missing or can be added, and what skills they are doing right now but can be improved. So it's more of an analysis what the players need in order to reach their next level in types of performance or communication or behavior. And you as within your trainer role are thinking about how can I improve it. So this can be of doing different exercises or introducing different games where they are more forced to communicate. For example, if you want a player to communicate more, this can be like, for an example, there's this game on the Nintendo Switch. It's called Overcooked 2, where you have to communicate and give different tasks about what someone is doing. It's about preparing dishes within a restaurant. Very fun as well, so check it out. So one has to cut like lettuce and tomato, and the other one is needing to clean the plates the salad's getting served on, or wants to fry the fries or have to cut the potatoes, all these kinds of things. So you have to communicate as a team what someone is doing. And this could be like a tool on the what are we improving? We want to improve this player or the team's communication level to talk more and to interact more with each other. So we're gonna play the Overcooked 2 game. And then the how is, I want you guys to give them a task. For example, I want you guys to improve communication by saying all the things that you are doing and planning ahead to get the whole team on the same page and move the dishes forwards. So you can translate and get those same communication skills, or at least the concept and grasp of it, into the, let's say, the game you are actually coaching. It doesn't matter if it's Rocket League, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, it's basically the same. So they get a sense of what you want to achieve with a nice and flexible and creative and entertaining way. So the second coach focus point for the trainer is also the talent. So instead of only looking at like, okay, these are the skills and I can improve these skills, you also have to look at the potential part of what kind of talents do they have. So now it gets a bit more complex, because you have to look at the individual. What are their preferences? What are the differences between the teammates? One is very vocal, one is more quiet, more introverted, extroverted. Someone is always bringing up the ideas, someone is taking in leadership. And how can you piece those things together in the practice or training so you and your team can evolve? Because the thing is, most of the time, we want to force sometimes people in a certain particular corner that we want them to have leadership, but inherently they are not really a leader, or they are a leader, but they are not allowed to lead, or sometimes we want to control people as much. So we have to assess them objectively for who they are and get the most out of the talent that is in there naturally within those players. So we get into like the training side and teaching side of coaching as well. And it can be difficult at first to do all these things, but practice makes perfect. So if you are an inexperienced coach, things you can do is just think of like, what do I want to improve? And what are the strengths and weaknesses of these players? And write them down, or in an Excel sheet, or anything that gets you insight into like the objective parts of what players and the team is good or bad at, and try to puzzle with the pieces, like what makes sense for you and how can I instill the talent and express that talent and the natural tendencies of the team the most. So that is good as well. Yeah, there you go. The third role as a coach, the trainer. The fourth coach role is the role of the mentor. Now we enter the realm of the virtual. While the other three coaches, the guide, the coach, and the trainer, are in reality, things you can observe, things you can assess, things you can see, sometimes touch. We now enter the realm of virtual, the things of the unseen. As a mentor, you have different focus points in that regard that are unseeable or not recognizable, and you have to talk with the team and the players to get this information out of them and to understand it and understand them and your team on a higher level. So let's get into the focus points. So the first focus point is the intentions. Intentions is something from within a player that has a certain intention to do something. It can be, let's say, a play that they set up. And oftentimes where we as coaches make the mistake is only looking at the play itself. But I will suggest for you to try to first ask, what did you try to achieve with this play? Because it will give more information about the intention. And maybe the intention was correct and good, but the execution was just maybe bad or just straight up terrible. So you can praise them for your attention is good, but your execution, we need to work on that. So that is like the mentoring part as well that comes in, because it can also be very damaging if you only coach on the action and you see like, okay, the action is perfect executed, we don't look at it. Sometimes it's also good, like, what did you try to achieve here? Because sometimes for like the communication protocol or the way the tactical and strategical planning that you have with your team is different from the intention of this particular player. So the execution can be good, that can be observable, but the intention was bad. So if you don't assess these things from time to time as well, it can start to form a bad habit when at first it might seem like in the first week we did this new tactic or strategy. He was doing like great because he's doing his right thing and he showed that he can execute upon it. But 2 weeks later, it seems like it's falling apart. Like, what is happening? Because I know you can do it. But then you start to talk with this player and you know these intentions or the baseline message that you said didn't get like fully understood. So ask about the player's intention to know where it's coming from. The same goes for the second focus point, is the motivation. We as from the trainer perspective, like we can do like the Overcooked 2 game or other team building games or different exercises that we apply towards the team, are hating it. Like they don't enjoy it, they don't have fun, and all the tools are set in place to increase a particular skill or talent, but they are not motivated on that because they don't feel it. It's not in line of their values or anything, or that identity. They just dislike this exercise. So it can be good to ask about their motivations as well from time to time. Hey, how are you doing in the team? Are you motivated? What's on your mind? All these kinds of things, like the virtual, the unseen, is very important in these types of aspects, to stay close and stay connected with your team and your individual players, to see what's up and where you can change, or they can change as well, to talk about it and to get the best out of the player. The third focus point is the identity. And the identity is basically asking, who are you? If they would ask about me, about who am I have to think, and what is important to me? How am I viewing myself? Do I want maybe more freedom, or do I like structure? All these kinds of things. Who am I basically? And if you know, for example, if someone likes to have a structured and very rigid approach, then you can facilitate it to them. They have an identity of being more rigid and planner type of personality, or maybe type of person, that you can work with them towards their identity. And you can assess this sometimes by months or weeks ahead of like, oh, every time I say this, it comes back to this. I might think like, yeah, he's more of a structured person. But the best thing about like the virtual thing, you cannot observe it. Get into the talk, just plan out 50 minutes or maybe an hour, depending on your time that is available on your hands, by connecting and asking like, How do you perceive yourself? What is your identity? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be an aggressive player? Are you more like a defensive player, or more so in service of the team, or are you more solo orientated in terms of team play? And this can really make an identity of an individual player or the team. The fourth focus point is the values. What do the players or the team value? And now we're getting to the higher levels also of coaching, of setting up a culture. What do we value? Do we value coming on time? It sounds obvious maybe for you, but some teams, maybe if you are more so in a casual esports way or with teams, they can value freedom more. And that, let's say, we try to meet at 7 in the evening, but we start at 7:15. So we have a bit more leeway for people to tune in and choose their own time when they get there. It might sound crazy for maybe the more engaged coaches, but sometimes it can be. So the culture you create is also linked to the values. So you want to focus on that within your role as a mentor as well. Like, what do they value? Do they value being on time? Do they want to have like perseverance every time, even though we lost like 5 games in a row? Do we pick ourselves up and try to make the best out of it? What do we value? And this can be a team thing, but also an individual thing. So once again, individual conversations or team building sessions where you have like a whiteboard or things like, what do we value? And make like a word web with things that could get the team and also certain individuals on the same page, where you can talk and communicate through those values as well. Like, we are this kind of team that comes on time, do their thing, never gives up, and just instills this fire and motivation within the team and individuals that can help them through dark times, or just rely on as a safety net, like, this is who we are. And it gives a sort of safety and a feeling of home, and also why you, the team and the individuals, chose this team to play in and not just any other team, because obviously this team and the culture is different from another team as well. And this is a very important part in that regard. And of course, like, the fifth focus point is the beliefs of what do we believe, what do we think we can achieve as this team. And even though we can be big dreamers and highly suggest to dream big, but don't be that much delusional where you are an amateur team and you make up goals and beliefs like, yeah, we can make like the highest stage of world championships in 1 year after this season. That could also maybe discourage the team. So align your beliefs to what is high up there, but with hard work, perseverance, everyone being on the same page, building friendships, that we can achieve that goal. So it's good to have beliefs as well, so you have something to strive forward to towards the top and have end game goals. And the last focus point is just a remembrance for you guys that it is virtual. These things, you can have assumptions and have like intuitive feelings about the beliefs, like the intentions, the motivation, but you don't always know. Never 100% sure. So the mentor role is about the role of asking questions. Who are you? What is your intentions? Are you still motivated? How can I help you? And getting in tune with basically more so in a spiritual way of their soul and their deeper understandings and mechanisms as a human. So there you go, the role of the mentor. The fifth and the last coach role, the Inspirator. This role looks like a bit like the mentor role, but there is a clear difference. The mentor role makes you understand your identity, makes you think about it. And the identity, the values, the beliefs, they are structured and used to move you forward on a more logical way. And the Inspirator is more so in tune of feeling it And the feeling of belonging and the identity that you have, that you are right, that you are sort of complete on the right path, that you feel a bigger picture, a bigger goal to strive for, that is what the role of the Inspirator does. So you have the same focus points of like the identity, but not so like who are you or who do we want to be, but actually like how do we feel within our identity? What kind of feeling does it bring up? What inspires us to move further? Why are we different? Why does it matter? And feel the difference in the identity instead of only cognitively understanding it, as well as the values, the culture. Why are we having this particular culture? Why do we have these values? It goes into a higher, deeper meaning of feeling an intuitive way. And this is very complex in some sorts, but you probably as a coach have these things already experienced before. When you are feeling right at home and you feel like, yeah, this is the culture, everyone knows what they are doing, we're striving towards the same goal, and having this like inner flame fired up when you are with your players or with on the practice field again, or with everyone involved in the organization or team that you are working with, that everyone feels like a family, a way of belonging that is very special, and that motivates the players in like very unusual but very powerful ways that sometimes you don't even have to understand, because it's a feeling, it's hard to express or understand. So it's getting into more complex detail, but it is very, very powerful for you as a coach to get experience or do things on the Inspirator level by doing the speeches and calling out like why, and remembering the players, why we are here doing all these things, why we set out these goals, remembering them, and going back to like their soul, the soul of the team or the soul of the players, and ignite them with a certain type of fire from within to move them forward, and understanding what they have to do so they can train, perform, coach better, be coached better, and also do the right things in the given environment. So some other things that can help you with the Inspirator role, next to like the values, beliefs, and meaning, is the mission and the vision. So oftentimes prior to like the coaching, I had to Google this a lot when like assignments. But the basic difference is the mission is what do we do now in this given moment? And if someone is looking at us from the outside, how are we or can we be perceived? So this can be like we strive towards to create the best environment on a day-to-day basis to create the best performance possible. That is something you can observe or you can hold on to, that we do on a day-to-day basis, that you can act upon. And the vision is something how you want people to view you in the future. So for example, we want to inspire other future teams with our achievements that go into the history books of esports. So this can be a huge goal and you don't really know when it is achieved, or maybe in 30 years it can be like measurable as well, but like a big goal that you want to be known for and go into the history books, or when in 50 years, what did you achieve in like the upcoming 10 years from now on, and how does that look like in a very compact manner. And if you combine those, mission and the vision, you know where to work from. Like this inner fire ignites, like on a day-to-day basis, we create the best environment possible to perform in. It helps you and the players, for example, if that is that, what the focus point is. And if you have to make decisions, it's very much more easy to make decisions, because does it align with our values, with our mission, with our vision? Yes. Okay, good. You have a good point and you can move forward. Or if it checks off some marks, but not all, you probably have to think of something better to come up with, or to find a different solution that fits the culture, the mission, and the vision as well. So it gives you a lot of guidance and a lot of clarity as well on where you want to go with your team and your practices and how you behave in a more general way. And if you have this clear, it becomes also more easier for you as a coach to know what direction you are heading towards. If people or players are deviating from the path, can you maybe correct them or ignite their fire again? Or sometimes they don't fit the culture, or not in the highest level. They don't share the same values or the mission or the vision. And sometimes that means you have to let them go or search for other players. So if you are a coach as well, with this given that the value and this higher picture is so important, is if you have the influence to recruit players or a team as a whole, first start off on the top of the pyramid of the coaching level model about what kind of values, what kind of mission do we want, what kind of culture do we create, and then find the right people inside the culture. Because if you have like so many different individuals that don't like fit into the culture, you can have like big problems with personalities or whatever. So start up from the bottom and then go down, and that is the way you can also the inspirer role or the inspirator role can be of very good beneficial effects for the team to get this vision, the mission, the path ahead, and set out the goals to success together, alone or with the team, where you want to go. So yeah, that is the fifth and last coach role, the inspirator. And next up, we're going to look at the overall model again and see how it all combines. Now we come back to the coaching level model. We covered all the 5 coach roles with some examples and how you can apply this coach role in different types of situations and different focus points. I hope it helped you for you to increase your knowledge about coaching and how you can perceive certain types of contexts and situations and what can benefit it so you, your individual players, and the team can reach their next level. There's still some more tips and tricks to add on this because it is a model at the end, so it's all interconnected to each other. So what this means is, if you have a problem on one of these levels, so for example, you have a problem with behavior on the coach side, the solution almost always lies a level higher than where the problem is. So you have a behavior issue with a player, he's not communicating the right way, or you give the direct feedback, but you feel like, oh, he's not getting it, he needs more time. Write it down and save it for practice so you can be in a trainer mode to hone into their talents, what they are good at, and intertwine it with something and give them more time so they can manage it. And if you feel like they have the talent, but why are they not performing in the trainer mode for, let's say, in a practice? Look again, one level higher. Is it maybe their intentions are incorrect? Did they understood it completely, what you actually meant? Is there motivation there? Are there some more things playing maybe in their day-to-day, their private life, for example, that could interfere with their motivation or talent? Or are they struggling with who they are within the team, with their identity, their values? Maybe, for example, they always played in a very aggressive role, and now the coach wants them to play more defensively. That can be really an identity clash for them that needs to be solved as well. So even though they have all the talent, by asking the questions into the virtual part within your role as a mentor or maybe the inspirator, you can reach their core soul and identity of who they are and understand better what they need in order to perform and to get the solution inside the training. So this is very important. So some other tips are, if you are starting off as a coach or you want to learn how to coach, it's a good way to start off in the role of the guide to help a team as a sort from an elite type of manager coach that creates the schedule, the surroundings, giving the right methods. If there's a problem, he can look for the internet or Google some solutions or talk with other resources, experts, specialists to give the solutions for the team or maybe the head coach. So that's a great way to start and to instantly provide some value for a team. If you are a bit knowledgeable about coaching, then you're probably more so in the coach or trainer role, and you can also just like work through these training routines and start to hone in into more like the mentor inspiration role. So it is good for basic coaches, or maybe if you have some experience, let's say 1 or 2 years, to try different things, about asking more questions about the intentions and motivations, and look at ways to structure your training to evolve it to a next level by not only giving the direct feedback, but also taking into the player into account, the personalities, their motivations, all these kinds of things, to get a more team cohesion and a better understanding of the player and how it evolves basically, and what they need to reach the next level. So to come back to, we have the 2 parts as well: the reality part, the things that are able to be seen, the observable over a period of time. Those are the behaviors, the skills and talents, as well as the surroundings for tools, for say the computers or whatever. And on the upper side, we have the virtual, the things that are unseen, that we can only make assumptions about, but the key is here to ask questions and to know what is going on inside the mind and the soul of the players and identities. So you can all intertwine it and connect it together as one full experience, and to create the best environment to perform in as a coach. So this is the coaching level model. I hoped you learned something, and that you can apply it. And I would highly appreciate it if you would share this video with other esports coaches, or you think this can be valuable as well on maybe a business level, because top sports and all the things can be the same as well. So if you enjoyed it and you want to have more videos of this type of in-depth content about improving as a coach or within as a team, as team development, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below what your probably main role is as a coach, and what you like most of this video. I highly appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and see you guys next time in the next video.